What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, what moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close slightly in the green, 0.15%, 20.01 the high, 19.22 the low. So we had some nice momentum first thing. That was because of the data. Throughout the day, it was kind of boring. As you can kind of see, no abnormal spikes, so very low volume as well. So everyone and their dog was pretty much waiting for FOMC minutes to come out. And unfortunately, they didn't really come in line with expectations. So we kind of had a little bit of a push lower. Looking at the flow, we did have a lot of algorithmic trading really pushing the market higher. And a lot of that was because of the data that did come out. And you can kind of even see, though, that a lot of large entities were conveniently selling out. So about 6.19 million in liquidations from that. So definitely not the best. So when it comes down to today, today was going to be one of the two big days for this week. So we did have some key stuff this morning, and then Friday we have GDP and PCE. So first thing we did have right over here, mortgage applications and mortgage market index came in at 2.8, and then index came in at 339. Both a lot better than the previous, kind of breaking the negative downtrend both of those have been on. And then we did have building permits and starts, 2 rounds of data, both for November and December. Absolutely amazing stuff, a lot higher than the forecast. And in fact, even the housing at 1.4 million, that's the highest it's been in almost, I think, 7-8 months. So definitely the market got very hyped up over this. And then later in the day, we did have the FOMC minutes. So everyone was going to be really looking at how the members were kind of thinking about rate cuts. And I think generally, if the members were more oriented and kind of willing to cut in the foreseeable future, then the market was going to get very hyped up. Unfortunately, the latter kind of happened and we got a lot of inconsistencies. So I think in general, market didn't like that. At the same time, roughly around here, we also did get notice that a lot of American military was told to pretty much leave Syria. So reading between the lines, we kind of know generally what might be coming. Again, market didn't like the FOMC minutes as well as that notice, and this is why we did see a little bit of a push lower right there. SoFi didn't put out any news today, no new analyst ratings. We just got this right here, and it's kind of interesting. So I was preparing for this video a couple hours ago. This was before the 144s came out, but unfortunately at 335 and 336 there was two. So one was this, so Run did sell about 25,000 shares today, and then you did have Eric selling 23,000 shares. And in case you're curious, typically no insider can sell any transactions unless it is one of those planned based on the trading rules. You can't sell prior to a earnings. It's kind of in the blackout. So this is why you are seeing a lot of these officers and other individuals selling, because SoFi had their earnings, they're now free to sell. It's one of those very unfortunate types of things. And even though this might not be that big of a deal, like an insider selling 23,000 shares, if you actually look at everything bigger picture, we are seeing more and more kind of selling. And very interesting, I do believe Eric did purchase some actual stock recently. So at the end of the day, I know, very interesting timing. Even yesterday, I brought up how that rumor on how Anthony is going to buy some stock on March the 1st. So if that comes out and comes to fruition, then yeah, definitely I think will be a good sentiment booster. But a lot of these insiders consistently selling isn't all that great in my opinion. Again, that might be unpopular opinion, but I like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. But aside from that, shorts, they did increase a small amount, nothing significant. So 289,000 shares, 8.86% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 111 million shares overall being shorted. Still see some signs of naked shorting because shares on loan being 85 million. That shouldn't really happen whatsoever. So you have that kind of a sign of manipulation. Cost to borrow minimum is positive, so that has at least stopped. DTC 2.25 days still does signal that shorts are relatively overextended. A little bit higher in the volume today for options, 30 million in calls, 11 million in puts. I kind of looked at a lot of these large kind of outliers right here, and nothing really stood out to me As far as big trades, 54% of all the options being done today, though, were bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 50 to 21. I'm sure some of that has to do with Friday's data, of course. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 19. So similarly, maybe they anticipate the data on Friday to be somewhat negative, but these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. As I brought up first thing, based on the flow, algorithmic trading was kind of artificially keeping SoFi and a lot of other stocks kind of higher, but big money behind the scenes was selling. So we had one big one right here, 79.1, 4.8, 4.3. That one was a buy, 3.7. So a lot of kind of low volume, I think, if you think about it, but still a lot of selling. Dark pool, we did have a couple big transactions, 42.9, 10.5, 1.9. As I've mentioned in the past, it is very difficult to distinguish what is buys and sells on the dark pool. You kind of have to match it, the timestamp, what happened before and after. And since this was a transaction right after the market closed at 1954, it looks like it was this right here. So some entity did sell out. So this 42.9 million was a sell. So again, on the dark pool and also secondary market, it looks like institutions were kind of selling today. I'm sure some of that had to do with, again, just the minutes and possibly even linked to 𝗖𝗪𝗧. I don't know if, from what I can see, I don't think there was anything further than that, than just being told to kind of evacuate, but maybe we'll have to wait and see. That'll be a fun event for tomorrow. But 1954 with a closing there, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot, so 1949 and 1976. So for those of you that want to day trade, swing trade, just kind of watch for both of those. And then 1921, so it did bounce off of that general range, so we know that this is a pretty strong support, so just watch for that. 1921. If we see some good momentum tomorrow and maybe even Friday, 1984, and then 2022 being the next strong targets. So let me know your general thoughts on all of that fun stuff. On the actual chart itself, quickly going over here, not all that great. I was hoping that the minutes were going to come in positive and give the market a certain level of hope and get it above this 10-day moving average, but no dice. So unfortunately, we are still kind of losing more and more momentum. Stochastic RSI is at 43, so it's neutral, not really overbought nor oversold. Comparing yesterday to today, you see a little bit more willing buyers, more so around the market price where we are now, less roughly around that $19 range. So again, if things take a turn for the worse, we might see some consolidation, but there really hasn't been that much in articles. You actually have this one right here by Dow Jones saying that 𝗪𝗧 did a hold, maintain their hold, acting like we got a new rating, but that was done 16 days ago. So I'm not sure why that's being posted 7 hours ago, but there really hasn't been all that much. Actually, even this one right here, Reuters saying 𝗪𝗧 cuts price target from 28 to 21. So from what I can see on TipRanks, nothing was posted officially. So maybe that'll be done tomorrow, or maybe just TipRanks is kind of lagging a little bit, but I see the last one being JMP being the last one. So let me know your general thoughts on SoFi. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you generally doing with SoFi? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.